when we made the street truck, we literally wanted to look beautiful on the inside, beautiful on the outside. And for the wiring, we took out the airbag on the passenger side, and we had this slide in, slide out fuse panel, fuse box, relay box we made. It was beautiful. My dad, Mike Fish, actually wired up the whole truck for us, and he made that amazing fuse panel. It was super cool, because in street truck version, you couldn't see any of the wires or any of the wiring. It was all hidden. It looked great. You had no idea there was nitrous controllers, nitrous relays, or any of that. It was all hidden, which sounded like a great idea, except after having a race truck, you realize relays go bad. Wires need to be switched around. You're adding things at events, changing out nitrous controllers, and it made it a freaking nightmare to work on. There was many a nights we were at the track trying to figure out what was going on, bending over our back, leaning under the dash, trying to find the wires, and that caused a huge issue. Narrowed it down to an issue with the nitrous controller. It was a ground nitrous controller, wasn't turning on most of the nitrous. We're basically doing fuel-only passes except for the spool jet. In my defense, when we originally built this truck 3-4 years ago, the wiring was beautiful. Mike did a great job.
Mike did a great job.
He hid all the wiring inside the glove box. You couldn't even see any of it. It had this slide out thingy. It was all very pretty. The problem is we built a street truck, didn't know anything about racing, and then changed everything over the next 2 to 3 years. So we had wires spliced in, teed in, cut. None of the colors matched. It was all ran all over the place, and it worked perfect, except when it didn't work.
And then it was a nightmare.
And then it was a nightmare trying to chase wires. No one had any idea, because your hands were on it, Ben's hands were on it, Mike's hands were on it, my hands were on it. You always blamed us, we always blamed you. No one knew who wired whatever. No one was writing anything down. It turned into a total nightmare. So that kind of stayed on the truck for now, because we were going race truck, street truck. We're caught somewhere in the middle. And to be honest, I spent so much time and effort making this amazing street truck. It took me a long time to get to the point of wanting to pull stuff out. So at this point, we did the front clip. We got rid of those beautiful headlights, the beautiful paint job, everything painted to match, custom made, and just slapped on a fiberglass front clip that we didn't have time to wrap, didn't have time to paint, and honestly, the truck looked horrible. In fact, I think I remember Jared Swing texting me and telling me, dude, your truck looks horrible. I can't believe you're even going out in public like that. We're like, we didn't have time to finish the bed sides. We didn't have time to wrap it. Nothing matching. It did. It looked horrible. Some people thought it looked cool, but it did look horrible. So we left the dash in it. And a lot of that was me is, gosh, the dash looked good. It had an 08 center console with cup holders, nice Corbeau seats, still had carpet in it, still had the dash in it. And a part of me had a hard time letting that go. And I remember people giving me a hard time about, oh, well, you could pull the whole dash out in the seats and you'd save like 30 pounds. Like, yeah, or what if I lose 30 pounds and we could keep it? So at that time, I started dieting heavy. Over time, I actually lost 50 pounds. A lot of that was for the race truck. I know, kudos. Like, it sounds silly, but part of me wanted to go faster and lost 50 pounds and brought the weight down. But we kept that center console and we kept the dash in there the whole time. It had this super cool switch panel that was integrated into the 08 dash that my dad had made, and it looked cool. So inside stayed basically the same. We left the dash, center console, carpet, Corbeau seats, and everything in it. On the outside, cut off the bed, remove the front clip, cut off the whole front clip, not just the fenders and the hood. I mean, we literally cut the radiator support out, cut everything down to the frame, made it super easy just to mount that front clip on there. I think one of the first times we were getting that up and running, we were still putting the engine together, still getting the piping together, still welding stuff together. And I remember Jared from Kill Devil Diesel and I believe it was Andrew Arthur were in town. They flew out to help out. Helped us put the truck together, some finishing touches on it. Oliver from O-Dogs Diesel drove out with all of his welding stuff because we were in such a hurry, we didn't have time to ship him the truck. He came out and built the front mount turbo kit here in our shop while we were working on the fiberglass, working on getting the engine swapped. It was a lot of fun. We were all hanging out at the shop, getting the truck ready, trying to get it up and going for, I think we had just a regular private track event here. There wasn't a race or anything we were trying to get to, but we really wanted to get to the track to test the truck out. We had a beautiful front cover from Jared at that time. We were always experimenting with new stuff. This is one of the things we loved about the race truck is whether it was Warren Diesel or Truck Source Diesel or Kill Devil Diesel, we were always trying out new things. It was fun, new parts, front covers, new heads, ported heads. We're always trying new stuff and pushing limits, which is cool because a lot of it worked great. And As many of you know, with R&D, some of it didn't always work great. But at this time, that beautiful front cover from Jared was brand new and looked amazing. We got rid of the stock water pumps. We ran a water pump in the bed with the radiator. We got rid of the stock oil pump, the G-Rotor pump. We were running dual Peterson pumps on the side. And it was a lot of work changing everything up and getting it all together. But we finally did get it up and going. We made it to the racetrack a few times. And the thing looked so silly going down. But it was fun. It was great. We were all having fun. And the truck was starting to go faster and faster on less and less power. We did eventually go out to an event with Oliver in California. It's pretty cool. They had a private track event we drove out for. He had his truck, we had our truck. I think we hurt the converter at that time, so I think we only made one pass. And at that point, we contacted GoRend. We were not running GoRend up to that point. We contacted GoRend, switched over, and we've had great luck with our converters ever since then. Not just the quality of the converter, but being able to adjust the stall to our needs, working through them to get them gone through if we ever heard them from sitting on the line too long, getting the converter too hot. It was great. It's been great working with GoRend, and to this day, we still use GoRend, and they're easy to deal with, easy to work with, and that's who we recommend everyone to use. At this point, we started getting a little bit more into tuning our own truck. Chris at TSD had been doing all the tuning, and he mainly was doing all the tuning, except I've learned when it comes to racing, a lot of things need to be changed on the fly. You might have to bump up your launch so you launch a little bit harder, or pull it back because you're spinning your tires, or adjust your shift points depending on how sticky the track is, or as you're going faster and faster, you might have to move the shift points up or down depending on how hard you're pushing the truck. So at that point, Chris at TSD had done an amazing job, but he couldn't be at every event and be there every night on the weekend, so we kind of started tuning the race truck ourselves, which I recommend to anyone that's serious about racing. You got to learn a little bit about tuning, especially on the transmission side. A lot of time the PCM, we'd leave that alone, not change anything, except for maybe bumping up the staging limiter or bumping down the staging limiter. And it was a lot of fun. At that time, I started tuning my own street truck, and it's crazy. I would spend hours and hours and hours to making my own tune for my, not the race truck, but for my own daily driver. And I thought it ran so good, and I'd load up a tune from Chris at TSD, Eric at Innovative, Matt at Gearhead, and their tunes would blow mine out of the water. It's crazy how good of a job that they do. So I wasn't really improving upon their tunes per se, but you often make slight adjustments to the staging limiter or to the transmission shift points, which you got to do at the fly in between rounds. So it becomes crucial, in my opinion, if you're going to push a truck hard and go racing, you got to learn to change the tunes yourself, or at least the points, shift points, and staging limiter. So after a few events with no bedsides on there, nothing painted to match, the truck looked horrible, the truck was running really good and we had it dialed in, so we started focusing more on the fiberglass. And this is where the truck really started looking pretty. We got the fiberglass bedsides all mounted up, the front clip all trimmed up and mounted up, and we started wrapping the truck. And we picked this beautiful purple. I remember that I saw a picture of a purple Lamborghini with the same color on it, and I was like, I have to have that on the race truck. We all voted and talked about it at KC Turbos, but we all came to the conclusion, definitely gonna be purple. So we were gonna do like a two-stage wrap. It was gonna be a beautiful purple underneath with the graphics wrapped on top of it. They couldn't print that purple with the graphics in the wrap, so it was a two-stage wrap. And we were trying to make it to an event, a super cool event that I'll never forget. This is the middle of COVID. Everything's shut down. You're not even supposed to leave your home. Masks everywhere. The gas stations shut down. But we wanted to go to the Wagler event that they actually ended up doing a pretty cool magazine article on. You can check out. Maybe we'll post it in the comments or in the description. But we got the purple on, but didn't get the graphics on. So we went to the event. Beautiful purple truck. And it ran fantastic at that event. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up, surprisingly, and travel was tough at that time. People literally wouldn't fuel up our truck because they knew where we were going and what we were doing, and they asked us about it. Or they were really weird about the mass, or you had to be from there, or they wouldn't serve you fuel. It was a very weird time. You guys all remember, traveling was tough. Hotels were tough. Getting food was tough. We had a truck and a trailer. No way to go through drive-thrus, and all the restaurants were closed. We tried walking through drive-thrus. They would not serve us. So a couple of times we bribed random people in cars to go through drive-thrus and buy us food, because other than that, we couldn't get it. The stores were closed. Restaurants inside were closed. Only drive-thrus were open. It was a weird time. Going to the event, everyone's kind of weird about the mask. Do you wear it? Do you not wear it? We're all 50 feet apart racing our trucks by ourselves, but I think I remember, they'll probably get mad at me for telling you this, but on TV they said, if you're on camera, even if you're alone in your truck, make sure to wear your mask. It was a weird time. None of it made sense, but it was cool all to come together in the diesel world, the drag race world, whatever you want to call it, to put on an event like that in the middle of all the lockdowns. From what I understand, no one got COVID afterwards, no one got sick, there was no blowout, downfall from it. It all went well. It was fun, it was a great time. It was a moral booster for a lot of drag racers that have been sitting around doing nothing, wishing they could take their trucks out. So that was a super cool event. It was very exciting to get there. We were starting to pop off. We were racing the 590 class, ODSS, and at that time we were starting to pop off 590s like it was nothing. The truck was pretty dialed in. We could basically do 590s all day long. Not 590, but 591, 595. The truck was getting very consistent. We were very excited to be able to dial it in and start going to a bunch of these races where we could race against other great race trucks, race cars, people that we look up to. And we were finally getting that, pro class, as a lot of people call it. 590 and above was where a lot of people start talking about the pros and the pro class. And it was weird thinking that this street truck we bought as a junkyard, long bed, two-wheel drive, and fixed it up to a street truck, and now turning it into a race truck and going to all these events. It was a lot of fun. It brought the whole company together. We met so many great people out there, lots of other great racers, and it started to become kind of a family. We're from the West Coast, and it was always a 3-day drive to go to any of the ODSS stuff, but they always welcomed you with open arms. It was fun. They was very professional, and they slid you right in and let you race like it was nothing, There's not a lot of racing on the West Coast. At least at that point, NHRDA had been canceled. There wasn't a lot of diesel events going. So anytime we wanted to race the truck, it was basically a 3-day drive there, 3-day drive back. I mean, it was a lot of work to go all the way out to those events. So although the truck looked beautiful in that deep shimmery purple, Lambo purple as I call it, I don't remember what the color was, but we wanted to get the wrap done. We wanted to get KC Turbos written on the side, the sponsors. We changed the engine out a couple of times at this point. We kept running into problems. Lots of problems. In fact, we named the truck Lucky and even got a custom Lucky license plate put on there because we had so many problems. Problems that people never ran into. We were blowing water out the radiator every time we went down the track. We'd pull it apart, head gaskets look fine. Put the truck back together, blow water out the radiator. We had lots of problems where we run into oiling issues and backfire issues. The intercooler up front was condensating, so when we went to the track, we had to sit there and wipe that water to air intercooler, or whatever you want to call it, ice box. Whether we use dry ice or regular ice, it would drip ice down the side. And so we ran into so many issues and problems. We named the truck Lucky. I don't remember exactly when we decided to name it Lucky. I don't think it was when it was a street truck. I think it was somewhere in between when it became a race truck, because it seemed very unlucky. Every time I called up parts suppliers that had sent me parts that had failed, they would tell me, gosh, I've never seen that fail before. You're the first person ever to have that fail. No matter what it was, no matter what the problem was, it was always like super rare, uncommon. I mean, we weren't chucking rods or blowing apart blocks, and the head gaskets were always fine. We weren't having common 6.0 problems. We were having other problems, just all over the place. And so we actually made a custom license plate, put it on the back, officially named the truck Lucky. And at that time, we started working out more of the kinks, more of the problems, wanting to go faster, and eventually put that super sweet wrap on the truck.